Is Adamma the most beautiful girl in this village?
Yes, she is the most beautiful girl, but she wasn't trained to stay in the village.
I don't care. I will marry her.
Chief Obinna, when you start seeing what you don't like, don't say we didn't warn you.
In the red earth village of Umuokoro, people measured wealth by the width of a man's compound and the shine of his wife's skin, and by those measures, Chief Obinna was the wealthiest man alive. His compound stood at the edge of the village like a small kingdom, high mud walls polished smooth, carved doors from Iroko wood, barns swollen with yams, goats tied in neat rows. His courtyard tiles had been imported from the city. When he walked through the market, wrappers rustled and heads turned. But Obinna's greatest pride was not his barns or his cattle. It was the woman he married, Adamma. People said when Adamma fetched water, the river paused to admire her reflection. Her skin glowed like fresh corn oil under sunlight. Her eyes were large and soft. Her laughter floated like flute music. When she walked, even women stopped grinding pepper to watch. Obinna had chosen her carefully. He had ignored the quiet girl who knew how to calculate harvest yield in her head. He had dismissed the widowed seamstress who ran a profitable trade. He had overlooked the teacher's daughter who spoke both Igbo and English with confidence. No, he had told his mother. A man of my status must marry beauty. He did not ask if she could farm. He did not ask if she understood trade. He did not ask if she could endure hardship. He asked only one question: is she the most beautiful in Umuokoro?
Is Adamma the most beautiful
The
girl
answer
in this
was
village?
yes.
Yes, she is the most beautiful girl, but she wasn't trained to stay in the village.
I don't care. I will marry her.
Chief Obinna, when you start seeing what you don't like, don't say we didn't warn you.
So he paid a bride price that echoed across villages. Goats, cows, kegs of palm wine, wrappers imported from ABA. The marriage was celebrated for 7 days. On the night Adamma entered his compound, Obinna felt triumphant. He had married perfection. The first year passed like harmattan breeze, dry but glittering. Adamma adorned herself daily. She braided her hair in elaborate styles. She wore coral beads and bright fabrics. Visitors praised her elegance. She poured wine gracefully during gatherings. Obinna beamed with pride whenever elders complimented him. You chose well, they said, and he believed it, but small cracks began appearing, like hairline fractures in clay pots. Adamma did not wake early. She did not know how to preserve cassava properly. When left in the sun too long, it spoiled. She disliked the scent of goats and rarely checked the pens. She preferred sitting beneath the Udara tree, humming songs and adjusting her bracelets. When Obinna suggested she supervise the workers, she smiled sweetly. That is men's work, she would say. He laughed at first. My wife is delicate, he would tell others. Her hands were not made for soil. But delicacy does not weed farms. Delicacy does not monitor storage barns. Delicacy does not calculate debt. Obinna handled everything alone. One evening, his old mother, Mama Kem, called him aside. My son, she began carefully. Beauty feeds the eyes. It does not feed the stomach. Obinna stiffened. Are you insulting my wife? I am advising my son. She is adjusting. Mama Kem studied him for a long moment. When the rain stops, you will remember my words. He waved her off. The rains had never failed in Umuokoro. The rains came late. At first, it was only a delay. The villagers joked about stubborn clouds, but weeks passed, the soil cracked, seeds lay buried in dryness, the river thinned. Obinna reassured himself. He had enough stored yams from last year. Enough savings from trade, but trade slowed. Travelers stopped coming. Neighboring villages faced the same drought. The price of food doubled. Then tripled, goats grew thin, workers began asking for advance payment, and for the first time, Obinna felt something unfamiliar in his chest, uncertainty. When the first barn emptied halfway through the dry season, Obinna called his wife. We must ration, he said. She frowned slightly. Ration, yes. Reduce consumption. Supervise the kitchen. Measure portions. She stared at him as if he had suggested something absurd. Our meals are already simple. He blinked. Simple, she prepared large plates daily. Visitors still came. She still entertained generously. It must change, he insisted. She grew quiet. The next week, he noticed something disturbing. Food disappeared faster. When he confronted the cook, she lowered her eyes. Madam said we must not reduce hospitality. It will shame the household. Obinna's jaw tightened. He approached Adamma again. We cannot maintain appearances while our stores shrink. She crossed her arms gently. What will people say if the chief's wife serves half portions? They will say we are surviving. They will say you are poor. That word struck him like a slap. Poor. He had spent his life outrunning that word. The drought did not end. Farms failed entirely. Neighbors began selling livestock. Men who once walked proudly now avoided eye contact. Obinna's second barn emptied. He sold 2 cows quietly. Adamma noticed, you sold them without telling me. We need money. For what? For survival. She turned away, offended. She still wore beads daily. She still oiled her skin. She still insisted on polished floors, but she did not notice the workers leaving one by one. She did not see Obinna calculating by lamplight. She did not see his sleep thinning. One evening, he returned from the market empty-handed. There is nothing to buy, he said flatly. Adamma's face finally shifted. What do you mean? There is nothing left. Silence stretched between them like a river neither could cross. It happened quietly. Obinna went to a former friend to request a loan. The man who once envied his wealth now sat comfortably in his courtyard, sipping palm wine. I thought your bounds were endless, the man said lightly. They were, Obinna replied. And your wife, still the most beautiful. Obinna swallowed. Yes. The man leaned forward. Beauty does not multiply yams, my friend. The words felt like an echo of his mother's warning. He returned home with no loan. That night, he looked at Adamma differently, not with anger, but with confusion. Had he married an illusion, or had he failed to see something deeper? The next morning, he found her crying quietly near the empty barn. It startled him. You are crying. She wiped her face quickly. I heard the workers whispering. About what? That we are finished. That I am useless. Her voice trembled. He stared at her, unsure how to respond. I do not know how to fix this, she whispered. For the first time, her beauty seemed fragile, not radiant. Not triumphant, human. I was taught to sit straight, to speak softly, to smile, she continued. I was never taught how to run a household through famine. Obinna felt something shift inside him. Had he ever asked what she was taught? Had he chosen a partner or a decoration? He sat beside her. I never asked what you wanted to learn, he admitted. She looked up slowly. You never needed me to know anything. The truth hung between them. He had wanted admiration, not partnership. The next day, something changed. Adamma removed her coral beads. She tied her wrapper tighter. She walked with Obinna to the remaining farmland. The soil was dry, but she knelt anyway. Her hands trembled at first. They blistered quickly. She did not stop. In the evenings, she visited Mom and Kem. Teach me, she said simply. The older woman studied her carefully. Why now? Because I do not want to be admired. I want to be useful. Mom and Kem nodded once, and so lessons began. How to preserve grain longer, how to calculate portions, how to stretch soup with vegetables that grow in harsh soil, how to treat small items quietly without shame. Adamma listened. Watched. Practiced. She failed often, but she continued. One afternoon, she noticed something Obinna had missed. Wild bitter leaf still grew near the dried stream. It was not glamorous, but it was food. She organized children to gather it. She learned to cook it in creative ways. She began exchanging small portions for salt. She suggested selling some decorative fabrics she rarely wore. Obinna hesitated. Those are expensive. And hunger is not. She replied softly. He stared at her. This was not the same woman who feared gossip. She was thinner now. Less adorned, but something else glowed from within. Resolve. When famine reached its peak, many households collapsed, but Obinna's did not. They had little, but enough, and people noticed. The same women who once praised Adamma's beauty now came quietly for advice. How are you surviving? She did not boast, she shared. She showed them preservation techniques. She taught portioning, and slowly, the compound that once symbolized pride became a place of community. Obinna watched her one evening as she instructed younger wives. There was no bead in her hair, no heavy makeup, just focus. Intelligence. Compassion, and he felt something deeper than pride, respect. In the 4th year, rain finally fell, not gently, violently. The village erupted in celebration. Seeds were planted again. Hope returned. But Obinna was no longer the same man. When the first harvest came, he did not rush to expand his bounds. Instead, he expanded knowledge. He insisted Adamma manage distribution. He listened when she suggested diversification of crops. He stopped chasing admiration. He began building sustainability. One night, under soft moonlight, he turned to her. I married you for your face. She smiled faintly. I know. I did not ask who you were beneath it. You did not. And yet, you stayed. She looked at the stars. I did not know who I was beneath it either. Silence wrapped them warmly. You are more beautiful now, he said quietly. She laughed softly. I have more wrinkles. Yes, he replied. But now, I see you. Years later, when young men sought marriage advice, Obinna would say, beauty attracts. Character sustains. He no longer boasted about Adamma's appearance. He spoke of her resilience, her growth, her partnership, and Adamma would teach young women not just how to braid hair, but how to survive hardship, how to calculate trade, how to endure storms, because famine had revealed what admiration had hidden.